Alrighty, we have VM Meat versus Alfredino on the Dark Elves. Dark Elves versus Vampire Coast. Meat's on the coast. And, yeah, both players sent me this replay. It is very good. I like it. Is neat. We do have kind of an older-fashioned Vampire Coast build here. Noctilus on his peg leg isn't as common these days. 3 deck dropper bombers also isn't very common. They have a lot of unit jank with, like, sometimes just not firing at all, so that can be a real pain in the balls. Double mortar, then some pistol mobs, handgun mobs mixed in, zombie pirate deckhands mobs with pole arms and regulars, and animated hulks, and a gunnery wight with enhanced ballistics, scab scrape, and more powder. So extra ammo and better capacity. On the side of the Dark Elves, kind of messing with the plan here from the Vampire Coast. They did not bring a bunch of archers as you usually see. They brought skirmish cavalry and the melee units, so it is going to be more difficult for those bombers to get their value. You have Dark Rider Peter crossbows, Dark Riders, Witch Elves, Crows of Cain with some other harpies, and then a front line of bleak swords, backed up by a Supreme Sorceress of Fire, Burning Head, and Fireball. Bomber Bats doing their best to get a little bit of damage out. Need to avoid the harpies. Don't need to avoid the repeater crossbows as much. That's just not something the deck droppers are really scared of. Now, obviously, if you're sitting AFK in front of them, it's dangerous. But you can see as they're here, if you're just moving, the repeater crossbows don't have the volume of fire or the straight line projectile shots to really scare bats. So as long as you're moving in some capacity, you'll be fine. Bats are harassing the Witch Elves on the way in, taking a little bit of damage from spear crossbows, but again, not really worrying about it too much. And Noctilus does do a lot of damage versus cavalry, specifically on his peg leg. Versus infantry, it's not as impressive, but against cavalry, he can get nice, consistent damage. The mortars are probably the most upset. Bomber Bat's not having a great time, but the mortars are like literally useless against this build that the Dark Elves brought. Crows of Cain dive in onto the animated hulks, just trying to get that Feast of Crows, or whatever the fuck it's called, to heal. Crow Feast. That was pretty close. So they're trying to heal up a little bit as Witch Elves jump in. Handgunners trying to fire, but they're obstructed right now. Though, still the Crows of Cain and the Witch Elf counterparts are going to run away soon. So Dark Elves taking a crap ton of damage on the way in, but that's the way it goes versus ranged factions. Really nothing that concerning here. I think Alfredino is pretty fine with how this went. I wouldn't say happy. No one likes to lose this much HP on the advance and go, wee! But he's probably like, yeah, it's going about how I expected. Manticore Lord dives in onto Noctilus. Noctilus is a terrible melee combatant on his peg leg, not something he's meant to be doing. Though, to be fair, Supreme Sorceress on Manticore, also pretty piss poor in that capacity. Witch Elves and Dark Riders trying to get through the front line of the coast. They did shut down a mortar already, and some of the front line of the coast are just handgunner or pistol mobs, so they're pretty easy to kill in melee. You can see the Dark Elves in general are just slaughtering this melee. So the tides are turning in the favor of the Druchii. We'll just see if it turns quickly enough. Same thing that happens with Skaven and yada yada. You've heard it a billion times if you watch this channel for a while. Oh, the shooty shoot faction got ahead in the early game, but can they hold on? Find out on the next episode of Shit Hummus Says Things. Crab Lord, Crab Hero actually is going to chase off the Supreme Sorceress, who did take a lot of damage in the end. You do have Dark Rider Pure Crossbow still firing in, but Noctilus is getting good damage down onto them. Balance of power is very in the Vampire Coast's favor, but actually looking at the state of the game, I am not as convinced. They're doing fine. I'm not trying to say they're secretly down. There's no way they can win, but this is a lot of infantry that can walk in, and that mortar is free balance of power to take out. These bomber bats are getting harassed by harpies. They're free balance of power to take out. We still have some repeater crossbows who are rather healthy, and your lord is a caster lord, pseudo melee because of the manticore, but it's mostly just a caster lord, so her low HP doesn't really impact you that much. And also Noctilus is a giant balance of power sponge, as is his crab friend, and they're not like that crazy. You can see how much damage he's taking from the Dark Rider Pure Crossbow. So there's a lot of balance and power shenanigans going on here that I don't think are as dangerous as Total War would let you know. So I think this game's actually pretty even right now. Vampire Coast running out of animated hulks, running out of randoms. In fact, a beautiful Burning Head down the side on these weirdly positioned pole arms who are fighting, but they must be in like guard stance or something, because most of them didn't move in to fight the bleak swords, and instead they just take a giant Burning Head. That's a big win. Balance power is coming back in the favor of the Dark Elves, just back to middle, I should say, as Bleak Swords finish off some summons. Multiple repeater crossbows tee off onto Noctilus, and I do like how everyone's ignoring the gunnery wipe. It's just kind of what you have to do. When you have a vampire healer, you can't divide your damage, so they're just going to shoot Noctilus until he dies, and then Get the Gunnery White later, because the Gunnery White can't heal himself without Nocti around. All 3 Dark Rider Pure Crossbows now in range and firing at Noctilus, though actually just as I say that, one routes and another one switches its attention onto the Deck Dropper Bombers and gets a side shot from Noctilus, so a bit of a whoopsie there. Definitely needed to just have the Harpies peel those guys. These Bombers are almost out of ammo, and sure, maybe they'll get a little bit more, but they also do less damage as you have less models. So the Bomber Bats are getting increasingly less effective. Another pistol summon out from Noctilus. How many summons does he have? 2? Yeah, he only has 2 Winds of Magic summons left. Trying to use it to peel the Harpies and get the Bomber Bats back in this. If the Harpies can just get the Bombers to start crumbling, that's probably a death cycle for those Bomber Bats. They're so low on HP, any crumbling will cause them to get low enough to just keep crumbling. But they can't do it. The pistols successfully peel and the Bomber Bats are back in. 1 ammo, but again, they could get ammo from our friendly neighborhood Gunnery White. Invocation Heck cast on Noctilus, but just when that happens, he gets hit with a fireball. I think she's been saving that, waiting for the Invocation Heck, so the Invocation healing is cut in half due to that being on fire. Dark Rider Pure Crossbows getting flanked by zombies and shot by Noctilus. Double teams their leadership, and they are gone. Though, did Noctilus burn another summon for that? No. It's a regular old deckhand summon. So everything around his feet is a summon. For the Vampire Coast, the only real units are these Bomber Bats that are almost dead. Noctilus is almost dead and a full health Gunnery White. For the Dark Elves, all their units are real. They don't have the benefit of spooky, scary, undead summons. 1 volley from this repeater crossbow is going to take out the Bomber Bats, though it is unfortunate they're going to use their ammo that way because they only have 3 shots left and they should go into Noctilus, but looks like they're really sick of the Bomber Bats and just want to get rid of them. 2 volleys left for those guys. Bomber Bats are dead. Noctilus's summons are fading away, and is that one at his feet another real summon? No. So I don't know where he got that one because still has 2 uses of his Drowned Dead like he has for a while. Dark Elves retreat to the capture point. They want to try and capture that in case this game goes crazy long, but it's a little late in the day to start doing that, especially with some wounded ass cavalry. 15 seconds left on one of his pistol mobs. Noctilus gets a heal, more powder, and it looks like the Dark Elf caster is coming back in range. Probably going to shoot a fireball at him to try and reduce that healing again, but this one is much later. It's going to hit him by the time Invocation Heck's already done, so I appreciate the strategy, and I still think it's a smart thing to do whenever he heals, hit him with fire, but that was just a little late on the draw. Bunch of Bleak Swords committing. They get hit with a Scab Scrape down the side. Now, Noctilus is pretty low on HP. 3,000 seems like a lot, but with a big body and horrible stats, you are going to take that damage much quicker than you would expect. Still a terror-causing giant monster with a cannon. I do think some Bleak Swords are going to see terror routes in their future. Dark Red Pure Crossbows trying to shoot at Noctilus. The other Pure Crossbows are keeping their distance for now as we get a rear charge in from the Manticore. Noctilus, low on HP. Bounce power is 50-50. The boy is hunger regenerating as long as he's standing the Bleak Swords, who are now all terror routing away. Supreme Sorceress gets rear charged by the crab and needs to run into her own Dark Riders, who will save her for a bit, but Noctilus shoots her in the back on the way out. Actually gets a lot of damage down on her. Harpies also recommit to the fight. Where did that healthy-ish Harpy come from, I wonder? Could have been used to take out the Bomber Bats. Supreme Sorceress Fire's not about to let up on Noctilus, who is getting healing again. Another Invocation into Heck. Supreme Sorceress is out. She's probably going to get back up in the sky and try and shoot a fireball at him at close range. But again, by the time it hits him, Invocation Heck is going to be done healing. Okay, she's not. She's just cycle charging. That's fine. Dark Red Pure Crossbows are back in. Noctilus could throw on Guard Bone and shoot at them once, and his under artillery fire debuff he would apply to them would get them both routing again. As both Noctilus and the crab get hits on the Supreme Sorceress, man, she is not getting lucky in these melee rolls. I'm not saying she shouldn't get hit, but she's not getting lucky either. She's getting hit quite a lot. Noctilus is very low. There goes one of the Dark Riders. The other one is holding its ground for now. Noctilus down to 2,400 HP. The Dark Elves are down the bounce power once again, but it's getting so close. They just want to kill Noctilus. In comes another fireball. He's not healing at this moment, but she just wants to get that little damage down. He's almost heal capped anyway, and she's even going for the charge in, trying to bolster her troops and get him down to crumbling. He does start crumbling. He shoots at her, but does not hit this time. And misses again, so the Supreme Sorceress gets away this time. Noctilus down to 1,500 HP, still getting shot by repeater crossbows, though that cannon shot is going to shatter the last Dark Rider that's over there. Ooh, we have a very healthy full ammunition Dark Rider off in the corner that has been forgotten by the Dark Elves. Those need to return. They could have been very useful in this late game fight, as the Supreme Sorceress even decides to rout for kind of no reason. The Harpies take a cannon shot on the way in. Only their charge bonus is going to keep them in it. They're going to terror out very quickly in this fight. Yeah, they just shatter straight away. Noctilus down to 1,400 HP. His Gunnery White is super healthy, though running low on ammunition. Does have more powder. No uses left, so The Gunnery White only has 8 shots left. That's a boon. If you can turn the Gunnery White into just a melee crab, you can kite him out with your full ammunition Dark Rider Peter crossbow in the late game. Though Noctilus sees it coming and is going to fire cannon shots at them on the way in, taking a lot of damage, down to 4 leadership. You can see damage by artillery is minus 10 leadership debuffs. It's pretty hard to withstand. Gunnery White also shooting at them. Dark Rider's starting to juke and dodge around a little bit as best they can. Bleak Sword's coming into the fight, and the Supreme Sorceress Fire is back yet again. Another cannon shot down the line. This one dodged by the Dark Riders, but they're having troubles getting in range of Noctilus. That constant fire is keeping them away. He still has 12 ammo, which is plenty for a cannon lord. He starts aiming at the Supreme Sorceress, who does immediately start dodging as soon as that big red arrow aims at her. Now Noctilus charges into Bleak Swords. Starts getting hunger regeneration, but the Bleak Swords will do more damage than he'll regenerate overall, plus his heal cap is getting very close. He throws on guard mode and fires another shot at those repeater crossbows, but a very nice dodge from them yet again, wasting that ammunition. Noctilus is starting to crumble, which is huge. If he actually crumbles, though, he does rally immediately, but like if he actually starts to crumble, once again, he's so low on HP and his heal cap is so close that all damage is super worthwhile. So the crumbling could do more damage than the Bleak Swords, but the Bleak Sword's going to tear her out. Noctilus still starts crumbling anyway. He's just been tottering on the edge of HP. And in comes a fireball that will probably end his life. The extra damage will get him down, negative leadership, and then he'll just crumble away to nothingness, because it's probably going to get him to 500 HP. Yeah, 572, that's pretty close. Fires the Dark Rider crossbows again. Misses again. Or they dodged it, I guess. No way his leadership's holding, though. That's pretty crazy. 500 HP on Noctilus. His leadership's holding. Balance power is crazy low for the Dark Elves. Getting desperate. They do send their Dark Rider crossbows a little closer once again. Once again, they dodge the cannon shot on the way in. No one has the capture point because the Dark Elves decided to try and take it when they were a little low on capture weight. Another fireball in. This one for sure does him in, but Noctilus side shots a cannonball at the floor, but it comes out of the side of his gun. 360 no scope with the Supreme Sorceress. I don't know if it hit her or not, but she did not die from it, and Noctilus rallies 10 leadership at 100 HP. He fires again at the Supreme Sorceress. He's sick of her fireballs. The cannon shots go a little wide, but still attacks by artillery is enough of a debuff to just spook her off the map. No Lord for the Dark Elves, though she's not dead yet. Noctilus is starting to crumble once again. His crumbling has been up and down for no reason. She's shattered because an artillery attack missed her, and it's a wild game here. Now, we are in that late game I was talking about. The Gunnery White, 0 ammunition, low speed. The Dark Rider Pure Crossbows, all the ammunition in the world. 16 volleys to just kite this guy out. I am going to play it at ×2 speed. As we can see, Alfredino, one of the best players in the world, is keeping his Dark Riders out of range as the balance of power kind of hovers around the same thing. Getting good damage down. The Gunnery White is pretty doomed at this point, so this is the Dark Elves game. They've won this. The only way the Vampire Coast win is if when the Supreme Sorceress actually runs off the map, there is enough of a leadership bomb to take out the Bleak Swords, and then the Dark Riders don't have enough balance of power to hold this together, because their leadership's looking good. They're active, so they don't have a leadership debuff from being like tired. Ooh, they're down to 4. Lord recently fled as a -16. Oh shit, it's happening. It's happening. The Bleak Swords shatter because the Lord left. Look at the balance of power. And these guys have 12 leadership, but their flag is blinking, which usually means they're about to rout. Oh no. That's a tragedy. That's funny, because if all units were unbreakable, Dark Elves had that actually for sure. There was like no way they lose, but they just get leadership bombed and army lost. Damn. Good game, though. Good game. Couldn't quite kill that Noctilus. 3,100 value on him, which is not typical. For Alfredino, his Firecaster got a lot of value. Bleak Swords did fine. Witch Elves got mostly murdered by bombers and mortars. Dark Riders did okay. Dark Rider Pure Crossbows did very well, but they were heavily targeted by the coast, so some of them don't get that much value. Like what that one got murdered, but yeah. Harpies did okay. They did the screening they had to do, but didn't get a lot of damage value out. GG. Roar. Subscribe, yes, yes.